So while Marco Mendicino has been criticized by victims advocates and political opponents, a group representing the rights of prisoners thinks that the minister's comments on the Bernardo transfer have also been out of line. Today, the Canadian Prison Law Association sent a letter saying, quote, it was inappropriate for the minister or any other politician to comment on any specific decisions by the Correctional Service of Canada. They wrote, Rourke, you made these statements when you were not even aware of the reasons for the decision or the process employed in this specific case. It was a knee-jerk reaction. For more on this, we've reached Tom Engel, the president of the Canadian Prison Law Association. Mr. Engel, thank you for taking the time today.
You're welcome.
Your organization sent that letter today condemning the comments by Marco Mendicino about the Paul Bernardo transfer. Can you walk me through the concerns you've raised with the minister?
Well, the minister made some comments publicly, obviously. One comment was indicating that the sentencing judge had indicated that Bernardo would be held in maximum security for the rest of his sentence, which was not true. That was false. We're very concerned about a minister of the Crown misinforming the public. We're very concerned about any politician, let alone a minister of the Crown, suggesting that politicians should become involved in micromanaging or managing in any way the administration of an offender's sentence. That is not up to politicians, and thank God it is not up to politicians to make those decisions. There is a process that is enshrined in the legislation, in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and in many court decisions about how sentences are to be administered. And politicians have nothing to do with it. And that's the law. And my concern is that the minister is suggesting that he may have some influence over that, or he's condemning decisions that are made by the lawful authorities in terms of the administration of Bernardo's sentence, and he shouldn't be doing that. That's just unacceptable for a minister of the Crown to be criticizing that authority over the sentence of Bernardo. And I mean, that's not all. I mean, we have other politicians who are suggesting that, like Ford and Poilievre, suggesting that, well, indicating the desire that he should rot in jail, and even some politicians suggesting that he should be allowed into the general population or placed in there against his will, so he can be, the inferences, so he can be murdered. That is completely irresponsible. Politicians should be above that. They should be trying to educate the public, all Canadians, on how the law works and why it works that way, and why politicians cannot become involved in it.
Okay, I understand your point, and there's a lot there, and so I want to go through it a little bit at a time, because clearly the politicians are getting involved in this, at least publicly, if not officially, in the decision-making process. And for example, we have a Conservative MP named Tony Baldinelli who's introduced a private member's bill that, if passed, it will require mass murderers be permanently assigned a maximum security classification. They could never be moved out of maximum security to medium security or anything else, no matter what. What's your take when you see legislation being proposed like that from the official opposition?
I think it's just pandering to the public, hoping to raise a furor and garner votes for that particular party. They should know that any such law would be struck down by the Supreme Court of Canada as offending Section 7 and perhaps Section 12 of the Charter. It won't fly. Just like many Harper laws, criminal justice laws were struck down, it'd just be another one where that would happen. So it's just brazen pandering, political expediency, and I would hope that politicians would have a better sense of responsibility to Canadians than to mislead them on things like this, just to get votes.
So there is a lot of pressure from ordinary Canadians and the opposition for Marco Mendicino to do something about this. Because I appreciate your argument on the law being broadly applied, but the specifics of the Bernardo case are so horrific, and he's such a notorious figure that it draws this sort of attention. So in your view, what is the minister's role and responsibility in this? Is there anything he can do to intervene, or is he just stay out of it and live with the political fallout that's happening?
It's the latter. Just stay out of it You've got the legislation governing the Correctional Service of Canada. You've got the parole board. You've got the Correctional Service itself. They have to follow the law. And if they don't follow the law, then remedies might be taken by going to court. The minister has no power, no jurisdiction to meddle or interfere in these types of things, and for good reason. And I heard the leader of the opposition indicate that cabinet could do something. That is not true.
So when people are calling for Marco Mendicino to act, and they say that he's failing to act, they're not giving an accurate interpretation of his authorities and how the law works, in your view?
Well, exactly. And I read something that was published about Mendicino saying exactly that. He said exactly that. I don't have the authority or the jurisdiction to interfere in what the Correctional Service of Canada did. He's right. Everybody else is wrong.
Okay, so if we just back up a little bit, and I know we still don't have a clear explanation exactly why the Bernardo transfer was decided because of privacy rules and different things like this, but walk us through this. Like, what factors are taken into consideration when determining a person's security level as a prisoner, and when and where they might be moved?
Okay, well, the factors are, put it in lay terms, how well are they behaving in jail? Are they being managed properly? Are they any kind of security risk such that it requires them to be in maximum security? Is it a good idea for rehabilitation purposes that they not be in maximum and they go to medium security? Those are the factors. You have to remember that people, when they're sentenced to go to jail, that's their punishment. They don't go to jail to be punished. You lose your freedom. And the law is that once you've lost your freedom, you only lose those rights which are necessary as a result of losing your freedom. You don't become a non-human just because you've gone to jail. And these are the principles that are well established. They've been established for over 30 years, and they have to be followed. And that's what the Correctional Service of Canada should be following. We have no reason to believe that they did not follow it in making this decision. And the minister has to stay out of the fray. Can't become involved politically, because look what happens when politicians get involved. I mean, they want Bernardo to be murdered by other prisoners. You know, force him into the general population. You can't have people like that being involved in the administration of a sentence.
Right, and just to clarify, Marco Mendicino is not saying that, because you sort of ran the minister. Yeah, it's others, right? I don't want to leave people with the impression that is coming from Marco Mendicino. There has been some strident commentary on that point, but certainly not from the Minister of Public Safety.
Specifically, I'm talking about Premier Ford and Poilievre.
Right. Okay. Well, Tom Engel, of the president of the Canadian Prison Law Association, I want to thank you for your time and your insight tonight. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.